Morning, everyone. My name is Andre Bash, and I am from Republic Bank's SME Business Segments team. So hello and good morning. Congratulations for signing up on today's webinar. We know a lot of you all are excited, and this is really geared to changing your perspective as an entrepreneur and business leader. Today, we're joined with participants from all across our territories, Trinidad and Tobago, Ghana, Barbados, Guyana, Suriname, and I know all of you all are pretty much excited to start off this new decade successfully. So welcome, everyone. At the end of today's webinar, you'll get a chance to ask questions and address to Indira Couch, who's here with us, and she is your facilitator for the webinar today. In the right pane of your screen, you're going to see a chat box where you'll be able to post all of your questions. And during the live broadcast, we'll try to answer as many of them as possible. And there's actually going to be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar where you'll actually get to pose your questions to Indira. Indira is actually a catalyst for change, and she's associated with ActionCOACH. She's a business coach who's really focused on working with growth-minded individuals, teams, companies, entrepreneurs as yourself to help you increase your profits, to build stronger teams, work smarter. As an ActionCOACH Business Coach, she belongs to a network of over 1,500 business coaches in over 80 countries. So with all of years of experience working with SMEs, she really has a lot of skill sets that she's developed, has been able to help a lot of persons really turn around their businesses. So she's well positioned to help you all today. So welcome to the couch, and she'll take you through today's webinar.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Andre. And thank you very much to the RBL team and everyone who has contributed to making today such a great success. So just to segue in from the introduction about me. So yes, I'm a business coach, and I've taken quite a long journey to get to this point. And part of that journey is a lot of the nuggets that I'm going to share with you today about how I actually had to get out of my own way to grow into my leadership and to really take on a role and to be able to break through and to get the results that I've wanted, not just in my personal life, but also my business life. So thank you very much. And so let's jump right in, and I'll share with you, because I'm sure everybody's really excited to know what are these 3 things that I need to start doing, because like, really, is it only 3 things? Well, it actually is 3 things, but it's going to require that you take a little bit of a deeper dive to look at these 3 things. And one of the words that I'm going to use a lot today is the word clarity. Because what I do as a business coach is I help you to get clarity around your personal goals and your business goals. I help you to educate you, I empower you, I mentor you, I transfer my skills to you. I keep you focused and accountable, and I also help you to develop an action plan. So a lot of what I'm sharing with you today are the tools that we use at ActionCOACH that help us to unlock people's and unleash your ability and especially your mindset to succeed. So let's jump right in. So a lot of people will come to me and they say, you know, Indy, I have these really fantastic goals. I have 2020 coming up, you know, in front of me, the next decade of my life, my career, in my business life. And usually they'll say things like, you know, I want to double my revenue. I want to have a freer lifestyle. I want to have more time. They'll even say, you know, things like they want to build a stronger team. They want to have a productive team. And I say, well, that's really good. That's a really good, you know, first step. Yes, we need to have a goal because you must start with the end in mind. So you need to know what you have. And so typically what happens is people will then sort of say, well, what do I need to do? And I say, okay, so that's really important. So let's take a look at this formula here, because yes, you need to start doing some things. So what's really critical about understanding this is that whilst that is a really good first question, and yes, it's a good way to start, a lot of people think success has a lot to do with, you know, doing things. And so they chase success, and success eventually becomes like almost chasing butterflies because they're busy chasing success. But what is most important to all of this, and in fact, as you can see, there's a multiplier here, is this question of who I have to become. So what I'm trying to say to you is success is not only about the things that we have to do. Success actually is something you attract by the person you become. And this actually became very, very clear to me when I began this journey of growth and to really get out of my own way. Because as a business owner, as a leader, I realized that I had to become the person that I wanted to grow into, the role for the things that I wanted to have. So if I set myself a goal, the multiplier, which I had to put enough into becoming and doing to give me what I have. So Jim Rohn actually is one of my mentors, and Jim really encapsulates this really, really well when he talks about, when he says, in fact, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And in fact, when you work hard at your job, you actually can make a really good living. But when you work harder on yourself, you can actually make a fortune. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to think about what are the things that you need to become, or who do you really need to become if you want to grow into this role, for the things that you need to have. So, for example, if we talked about having, increase in revenue, then who do I need to become as in terms of a leader? What are the things that do I need to raise in terms of my profile as a leader? If I want to have a better team and a more productive team, how do I attract talent? How do I attract top talent? How do I attract great clients? So who do I need to become? So really important questions for you to start getting clarity around who you need to become. So again, and by the way, this equation is really great, because what I find gives me a lot of clarity is if you take the converse of who you want to become. So if you think about, well, who do I want to become, but who do I not want to become? So sometimes you get the clarity from the opposite, from the converse of that. So what do I need to do, or what do I need to not do? So it's what you're not doing or what you're doing, and what you're being or what you're not being will give you what you will have. All right? So those are the first and important points that we need to start thinking about for the formula for life success. So that's a great start. We know what we need to become. We know what we need to be doing to give us what we have. But then how do we actually start to make this happen? So I'm going to introduce another tool to you. And this is one that we use at Action Coach a lot. And in fact, I love this tool, and people who know me and who I actually coach, and groups of persons who I coach will know that this particular tool is what I use all the time. And it's called the identity iceberg. So where do we start? How do we begin to get these shifts in our lives to create the environment, to create the situation, to become who we need to become? Where do we start to create these shifts? Now, let's take a look at this iceberg. So everybody's probably, seen an iceberg. If you haven't seen one in actual life or in a movie, you've seen one in pictures. So what is particular about the iceberg? So if we look at the iceberg actually, as we can see, the only part that's visible is usually about 10% above the water and 90% below the water. So that's typically the ratio of an iceberg. Now, the iceberg, the reason we use this iceberg is because this is really typically the reflection of us as human beings. So when you look at me, Indy, this is me, everybody sees me, they see my behavior, they see the kinds of decisions I make, they see the actions that I take and the results that I get. That is years of me working on these three areas. Now, let's say that you want to make some change, and I love to use this example because I think it's a really easy example, and I think it's one that everybody gets, is you want to lose 20 pounds. It's always everybody's like, New Year's resolution, I want to lose 20 pounds. Yes, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to, do it. So what do? They go out and they sign up to the gym for the year. Yes, I'm going to sign up to the gym. Yeah, that's great. So then after a few weeks and so, they start doing a bit of exercise, they get some new clothes, they get all pumped up, they go and they start making the decisions, they're doing the exercise. So they're actually doing the exercise now, and then they get some results. But sometimes, and in fact a lot of the time with people, is that they'll get the results, but by about March or so, or even before, they'll just fall off the wagon and fall back into similar habits, eating, that piece of chocolate cake that, excuse me, they should have avoided, and a number of other changes that they revert to because they've not been able to get that long, sustainable change. So what we have found is that when you want to get that deep, sustainable, long-lasting change, that these are the areas that you need to start working on. And these are the areas that are going to make a shift for you. And I'm going to share those with you right now. So let's take a look at the first area we need to start. So this is what we call the environment. So when we say the environment, it's really everything that surrounds you. So you decided that you're in pursuit of a really fantastic goal. Whatever your dream is, you're going to pursue that. You say, great, that's the first thing, we're going after it. Who do I need to become? So one of the first areas I need to start looking at is my environment. And the first part of that environment is what we call your physical. And when I talk about physical, what I really mean is what are the physical things that you're surrounded by that are impacting and supporting your dreams. So your physical could actually be your physical environment. So it could be where you're living, the office that you have. It could be, all the stuff that you have around you. It could even be the stuff that's cluttering to you. So I usually like to say, when I do this, when I explain this particular example of the physical, I talk about all the clutter that we may have, whether it's physical clutter, psychological clutter, even emotional clutter, that we need to free ourselves and free in our minds so that we can actually create the space that we need to support our dreams. In fact, I have some clients who, when they start on this journey, they even kind of do a refresh, redo, they change their hair, they go on like really, fantastic, health, they go and do half a Ironman and marathons and all sorts of things because they really want to stretch themselves and really want to, take themselves into a whole other area of their lives. So that's the physical. The other thing that's really important about the physical is about you to get clarity on what it is that you're tolerating. So, because what's important in the physical environment is that you get what you tolerate. So I like to use the example of this. If you are going to tolerate disrespect, then you're going to get disrespect. If you're going to tolerate being overworked and underpaid, then you're going to continue being overworked and underpaid. So it's really important for you to think about, again, who you're becoming and what you are allowing in your physical environment, your physical space, to support you and to support your dreams for the future. So I like to use the example of an oak tree. So if you imagine you take an oak sapling and you plant it in a plant pot. So that's, really nice. The oak starts to grow and then it starts to get firmly rooted. But eventually it's going to outgrow the plant pot. And the only way that this oak can turn into the really grand oak tree that we want to see and we want to adore and love is by us changing that plant pot. So that is true of us as well. So that's your environment, and that's something that we need to start thinking about. If we want those shifts, how are we going to make those things happen for us physically? And the second part of this environment is what we call the people part. And I love this part because I talk about this a lot, only because I've had to really get very, very clear around the people that I surround myself by. Because again, to the point of support, surrounding yourself by the environment that you need to be able to realize your dreams and realize your success. So Jim Rohn actually is the one, again, I keep is my go-to. So I talk about Jim Rohn a lot, and Jim has actually influenced a lot of the mentors that I follow, Brad Sugars, who's the CEO of our company, and Darren Hardy, who's another of the mentors that I follow as well. And Jim actually has a really great grouping, because what he talks about is the influences in our lives and the people we surround ourselves by. So you remember, I'm sure we've all heard this before. Our parents would say, things like birds of a feather flock together, right? We've all heard that. My grandfather used to say to me, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I was growing up at the time, I wasn't really thinking about what he was saying, but it really does make sense, because if you think about it, and in fact, this is proven, by the way, by even David McClellan, who is a very well-known and unfortunately not with us anymore, an American psychologist from Harvard, who basically reported that 95% of our influences will determine our success or our failure. And that is absolutely true. So we have to really get very clear on who are the people we're surrounding ourselves by. So the three groups of people that Jim talks about, the first group is what you call your disassociated group. And these are the people who really, I like to call your energy vampires. You see them and you meet them and all they talk about is doom and gloom and negativity. There's nothing good to say. Everything is a problem, a lot of fear, a lot of remorse, a lot of talking about the past, a lot of failure. There's nothing good. You come away from those conversations feeling, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to slip my wrist with a spoon, because you just come away feeling really awful. So I'm not suggesting that, you go back to your office, or maybe you should actually go back to your regular daily routine and start, disassociating with people. But we have, by the way, attached a number of tools to this webinar, which I would really like you to use to help you to get the clarity that you need for you to really understand who are the people that you need to surround yourselves by. So you have your disassociated. So get clear around your disassociated, people who you really do not enjoy being around. The other group is what we call your limited association. And this is where you need to understand the people who you're spending 3 minutes with, the people who you're spending 3 hours with, and the people you're spending 3 days with. Because sometimes these folks can actually be your family. And so I've actually developed strategies in my own personal life, and I don't have time to talk about them right here, but definitely can ask me some questions in the chat box and I can answer them afterwards. But I have a lot of strategies that I use for determining how I do my 3-minute strategies, my 3-hour strategies, and my 3-day strategies with the people that I choose to spend that time with. So that's your limited association. And by the way, some of those folks can even be a family as well. So I understand this is how it goes. But this is really important for you to get the clarity, because again, it is about the environment and the environment that you need to support you on this journey. So that's your people part. The other part of this is what we call your knowledge base. And I love this part. This is actually one of my, I made a mistake. I didn't talk about my expanded associations. How could I forget that? That's the most important group of people that you need to spend the time with. So you have your disassociated, you have your limited associated. So that's your 3 minute, your 3 hour, your 3 day folks. And then your expanded associations. So this is where you need to actually be spending the majority of your time. And this is often, because I have a lot of clients who come to me and say they struggle with this because they need to find people, they need to connect with people, they need to find a community. Now, luckily, I would say that you're very fortunate because RBL has created this SME Toolkit, which is really one of the first steps for creating this community, because creating a community of like-minded, growth-minded individuals, it's really a great place for people to come together and share ideas and get around understanding how they can become more abundant thinking instead of scarcity thinking. Because what happens generally with the people who you put in your disassociated and your limited associated box, those folks are the ones who are the scarcity thinkers. They're the ones who, there's always, they don't think synergistically. They're very scarce-minded. They don't share information. They don't collaborate well, they don't work well together as a team. So what we want to do is we want to find people who are more abundant thinking, who share information. This is a perfect example of abundant thinking right here. Now we're sharing all these wonderful tools with you, and the SME Toolkit will continue to share the tools with you for you to be able to build out those strategies and realize your dreams. So again, your expanded associations can be in the form of the communities, associations. It can be, an accountability partner. I have, my clients come to me, for example, because they see me as their accountability partner. We connect in a particular way because of the mindset, because of the things that, we think the same way. We also, when we work together, we share a lot of ideas. Eleanor Roosevelt actually says it really the best way. She says, small-minded people talk about people, average-minded people talk about events, and the brilliant minds or the greatest minds in the world talk about ideas. And so what you want to do is you want to find an expanded association of people, networks, communities, associations, or even individuals, even a mentor, someone someone who you want to be like, someone who you admire, and you say, hey, can I carve out some time with you once a month to speak with you, to hear from you? What are the things that led to your success? Because I'd really like to know what led to your success. So get clarity on your expanded associations, okay? And so what I'd like you to do, again, we've appended a lot of tools onto this webinar. Please use them to help you to get clarity around those. And so the last part of this, of the environment piece, is what we call our knowledge base. And again, it's one of my favorite ones because it is what I like to say, very simply put, is garbage in, garbage out, or rubbish in, rubbish out. So I tell my team all the time, we talk about, it's so easy when you're going to nourish your body with good food. It's really easy to choose what you're going to put into your body. But your mind is different because you can be going around, you're going through the airport, you're going to a store, and there's so much stuff that is feeding your mind, and you don't really have any choice because it's there and you're seeing it. So you have to get really much more discerning about what you're feeding your mind. Because think about this, your mind is actually like a glass. And when you feed it doom and gloom, fearful, worrisome news, negativity, drama, gossip, what happens is your mind becomes muddied. So what is important for us to understand is when our mind becomes muddied, is that everything we then see is with that lens. So it's really important for us to recognize how critical it is, the stuff that we're putting in our mind. That, in fact, that is, I think, one of the most important things. So I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks, YouTube audios. My children, I encourage it as well. We're very discerning about what we listen to, what we're feeding our brain. And the other thing that I love about the mind and the brain is that when it is muddied, what is really great is that we also have an opportunity, like a glass, to take it and wash it. So you can use a little soapy water and wash it. But how we flush out our mind is by feeding it positive news, innovation, success stories, things that can really feed your mind with really positive things, great stories of success, of resilience, of so many things that we can focus on that can really, again, support us through the day and help us to create more positive energy and to get the energy to move forward. Because think about it, if you're creating a positive mindset, or you want a positivity in your life, then how do you expect to get that from negative information or negative people or a negative environment? So again, just to reiterate, your physical, your people, your knowledge base, critical key areas for you to get clarity on what are you feeding your mind. So the other thing that we need to start thinking about, once we start to change our environment, is really about, oops, here we go. It's stalling a little bit here. There we go. Oops, there we go. So we're going to talk first about our identity. So let's get a little clarity about this identity, because a lot of people say to me, I don't understand what you mean by identity. And I say, okay, well, let's think about who you are. How do you see yourself? And what we like to say at Action Coach is, and I love this little sort of, it encapsulates the description and the definition of identity, is what it is that you are saying to yourself when you are by yourself about yourself. So it's that voice in your head, and are you saying I'm a success, or are you saying I'm a failure? Are you saying I'm not smart enough, or are you saying I have unlimited potential and I can shine bright? I have the ability to shine bright. Are you saying I'm not good looking enough? Or because all of these things we talk about, or we say to ourselves, that we put in our mind that identifies us. So what I want you to get clarity around is really beginning to listen to what it is you're saying to yourself. And if you are saying those things that are not supporting you, you need to start shifting the way you're thinking about yourself. So for example, if you are saying, again, I'm not smart enough, then you have to say, no, I am smart enough, and I will put the effort in, and I will get the results that I want in my life. So again, the identity is important. And just a little sort of tagline that I like to add to that is, if you can change your thoughts, you can change your world. And that's really important. Change your thoughts, change the words that you're using, because those will then lead to your vibrations, and your vibrations will affect your results. And that's a lot of this stuff. A lot of material is written on this in the law of attraction. So if you have a chance, please take a look at Michael Lozier's stuff on YouTube as well. There's a lot of great material out there on the law of attraction. So the second part of this, the next step, is what we call your values. Sticking a little bit again. There we go. Right, our values. So what are your values? So your values are the things that you hold to be important. So I may have, certain values. We all have different sets of values. So you have values, I have values. Some people, have very different values that act for them, and some act against them. So I'd like to give this example. Say your value is self-acceptance, and you're really concerned about what people think about you because it's important for you to feel accepted. Then when you go out to do something like this, which is what I'm doing, which not many people can, you really have to be willing to make a mistake, or to, maybe just do something that may not work, and not be too concerned about, if people are going to like you, if people are not going to like you, because, the fact remains is that you know what it is that you're about. You know that you are always giving, you're always adding value to people, which is what I do. So you really have to let go of that self-acceptance, because it's not working for you. It's not serving you. It's working against you. So it's important for you to get clarity around your values, and for you to begin to understand what is important to you as a business owner, for your company, and for yourself personally as well. So get clear around what values you need to change, because those are not the values that are serving you. The next part of this is your beliefs. And your beliefs are the stories that you're telling yourself. And I like to use the example of math, because how many of us think that we're good at math? When I ask this question, usually in like a large group, I usually get like a handful of people raising their hands and thinking they're good at math. And when I ask them, so why do you think you're not good at math? And they'll say, well, went to the classroom and I wasn't really doing very well, and I didn't understand it. And so what happens when you believe that you're not good at math? You go into the math class, and every single time you never pick up on something, you shut down, you get homework, you don't do your homework, you come back to class, you kind of sit around in the class and you never really fully get it. You're just like, you know what, I'm just not good at math. Now, what happens with that is that it's a story we begin to tell ourselves. So when we become a business owner and we have to do accounts, we have to look at accounts. When we look at the accounts, we look at the numbers, we go, oh my God, this all looks like I'm cross-eyed, I don't understand any of this. And so your beliefs are acting against you. And in fact, what happened to me personally is that when I was running my own business, I was not actually an accountant, and I'd never done accounting because my degree and all of the things that I've ever learned were never in accounting. And I decided to get an accountant to teach me accounting, and that was extremely painful. But once I got it and once I put in the effort and I got out of my own way, it was the self-limiting beliefs that I had set myself up. They were all acting against me. And once I got that out of my way, I really got a handle on the accounting, and I was then able to make really good decisions. I was even advising the accountant at one time, telling the accountant what to do for tax purposes and so. So again, it was a belief that I had in my head, the self-limiting belief that was keeping me back. So I want you to get clarity around those beliefs. Another example of self-limiting beliefs that a lot of us would have, typically around sales. When I discuss sales with people, usually, they think about, I ask them, well, what do you think a salesperson should be like? And they go, oh, they're usually trying to sell you something that you don't need. And these are salespeople I'm training, when I ask them what they think about salespeople. So if they're believing that people are selling them things that they don't need, that they're just smart people, they're just over-promisers and they're product pushers, they will go out, and how they are going to show up is going to be like that. They're going to show up always thinking that they're pushing products or taking orders. So what we have to do is, if we're believing those things about ourselves, we have to really unlock it. And when we do the sales training, for example, we get people to understand that they're actually problem solvers. And what they're doing is professionally helping people to make a decision to buy something. So it's about switching how you're thinking about something, because that switch, when you say, hey, I'm a problem solver, that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting with someone and helping them to professionally make a decision to buy something. I'm not a product pusher. I'm not an over-promiser. So the minute you start to see yourself differently, believe yourself differently, think about yourself differently, you begin to get those shifts. Okay? So think about the limiting beliefs that you have, and think about the ones that you need to get clarity on, that you need to do away with to help you to get the shift in your mindset. And the last one, but by no means least, is skills. And just to the point I made to you about the accounting, I had to go and I had to learn to do accounting. And whilst accounting was not something I love, and I still don't, I really had to make the effort and step up and learn to do the accounting, because that's what I needed to get that mindset shift to take me on to the success that I've been able to achieve to this day. So move those things up below the iceberg, and then what you will find happening is your behaviors are going to change, your decisions are going to change, your actions are going to change, and ultimately your results will change, and you will be able to get those longer lasting, much more sustainable results than you need for you to achieve your dreams and goals. Okay, so let's take a look at the next formula, because a lot of people then say to me, well, okay, that's all great, Indy. Yes, I need to become this, I need to do this, I will have this, I make these mindset shifts, but yet still they're not getting the shift. So I say to them, well, look, let's take a look at where this resistance to the change is coming from. Because to be honest with you, resistance to change is only really one thing. It all comes from fear. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the acronym FAIR, F-E-A-R. But what we say at Action Coach is that fear is a false expectation that appears real. So what happens to us is that when we are afraid or we feel, very that there's going to be some kind of perceived pain about something, we resist the change because we want to avoid the pain. So what we have to understand now is why we're resisting this change. Okay, so this is where the formula for change is going to help you to understand how you can lower this resistance to change, and so you can really help to move the needle for yourself, for your personal goals, and for your business goals. So let's take a look at this the fear and the resistance to change. What we're going to find happening is that the fear and the pain that is associated with the fear is actually twice the power, and this is the truth that this is all, psychologists have written about this. It's twice the power of an inspiration or a potential future gain. That's how powerful this fear and this resistance to change is. So what we have to do is we really have to begin to unlock these two things, and the first one is the dissatisfaction. So some of you're business owners and you're dissatisfied, and yes, you're really, really dissatisfied. You're so dissatisfied and you really want to make the change, but that's not enough for you to get the change. What is going to help you to move the needle on this change is having a really compelling vision. But your vision has to be such a great vision that, because if your dissatisfaction, so say for example, you had the opposite where you had zero dissatisfaction, but you had a great vision, then that's still zero. Yeah. And if you had 50 dissatisfaction, but zero vision, it's still zero. Yeah. So you have to have a really healthy dissatisfaction and a really great vision to be able to say, okay, I'm really unhappy. I'm tired of working, 80 hours a week. I'm tired of not having time with my family. I'm tired of not making any money. I have Mondayitis every Monday. I'm on this roller coaster ride. I really hate it. I need to make a change, but you need to have the vision with it. So what we do as business coaches, what we do even with the SME Toolkit, we're going to be able to help you to be able to take you through some strategies and some tools that will help you to get that vision and to help you to understand what your vision is. But you may already have your vision, but you also have to understand it's maybe you're not dissatisfied enough, or maybe your vision isn't big enough. Because maybe your dissatisfaction is 5 and your vision is 10, but your resistance to change is 50. Yeah? So you need to have a much bigger vision or a much bigger dissatisfaction. Okay, so you see the multiplying effect there. But the other thing that we need to understand why our resistance to change, or why we're not making this shift, is because we don't understand how to actually make this happen. And that's the first steps. So the formula for change basically says that the dissatisfaction times the vision plus the first steps must be greater than the resistance to change. So what happens is a lot of business owners, you have the dissatisfaction, you have the vision, you're ready to go, but you don't know how to start. You don't know, that it becomes such an overwhelming thought. You're like, you know what? It's too overwhelming. I don't know what the first step is. But what we do at Action Coach, we actually help you to understand what those first steps are. So again, just to reiterate, when you understand those first steps, if you can add that to your dissatisfaction and your times your vision, you will be able to get moving and you'll be able to make that shift to get that change. Now, the resistance to change can also be less if you're working in sales. So let me use the example. So let me just dial back a little bit. This formula for change also works really well with sales. So if you're trying to sell something to someone and they're not budging, they're not buying, they're not taking the thing that you're trying to sell them, maybe they're not dissatisfied enough. And maybe what you've actually done is not sold them the vision of the difference that this thing is going to make in their lives. And then you haven't told them what are the first steps that they need to take to make that change, how easy it is, how easy the purchase will be. I can, bundled offer, this is it, the next 3 days you'd be able to get the item that you need to buy. But the resistance to change can also be less if people like you and trust you. So that's why in sales, it's really important for you to understand how you are actually going to create that trust and rapport and relationship that is going to connect you with your customers and develop stronger relationships. Okay? So that's our formula for change model. It works for everything, by the way. So any resistance to change you're getting in your personal life, your business life, with a team member, with a colleague, I have it with my children. I use it with my children as well. I use the example all the time, getting my son to change, getting my daughter to think about doing things differently. I think about this formula and it works for everything. So now that you're getting these and I hope for you for sure that you're getting a lot of interest in a lot of the shifts that we need to make, I just want to summarize very quickly for you, or before we move on to the follow-up workshops actually, let me just summarize for you the 3 things that we talked about today. So we talked about the being times doing, which is equal to having. So success again is not just about what you're doing, but it's also who you are becoming. Then it is, secondly, about the identity iceberg. So creating not just the environment, but also really digging deep about what are the areas of your life you need to take a look at to really begin to get the shifts in your mindset and the things that you need to start doing and to be able to move the above the iceberg level in terms of your behaviors, your decisions, your actions, and your results. And the third thing, and again, by no means least, is the formula for change. So really understanding, am I not dissatisfied enough? Do I not have a vision? Am I not clear about my first steps? And why is it that I'm resisting to change? Because generally, a lot of us, even in our workplaces, we delay doing something. We don't have that hard conversation with the person, or a performance conversation with one of our team, or something that we really need to do. We delay doing it because, again, the temporary pain that we have to go through, we don't feel that it's worth it. Okay, so really, there's going to be a lot of reflection. You're going to have to do a lot of thinking about what it is that I personally need to do to make the shift. Because remember, the other thing that's important is that the only thing that you can change is yourself. And the only control that you have over anything is yourself. So we have the sphere of control, which is ourselves. Outside of that circle, we have the sphere of influence, and that's people we can influence. And outside of that circle, there is everything else. Okay, so that's us in summary. And just want to let you know that if you want to hear some more about all of these fantastic things and some of these tools that we're going to be sharing on the SME Toolkit, that in the new year, in 2020, Republic Bank is going to be in Trinidad and Tobago running 2 seminars, which are called the 6 Steps to Winning Business. I'm actually going to be presenting them. The first one is going to be on the 7th of January in the north, and it's going to be from 5 to 8, and it's going to be at the Park Street location. And the south is on January the 9th from 5 to 8, and it'll be on the High Street RBL location. And then after that, participants and persons who attend the workshops will be able to sign up to join the Action Club program, which I'm sure many of you have seen all the fantastic results that the business owners have been able to amazing results in terms of their revenues and their teams and their growth, and they've been able to realize over the last couple of years. And so those are the dates for the Action Club. So put these down, book them in your diary, make sure that we see you next year at the 6 Steps to the Winning Business. And just to finish off with our session here, that a lot of this stuff that I'm mentioning to you here, a lot of us can do it. But remember, Words can inspire you and thoughts can provoke you, but the only thing that's going to get you results is action. And if success was easy, everyone will be doing it. So let's get into action and let's build that amazing mindset to succeed and unleash that mindset so that 2020 can be your best year ever. Thank you. Okay, so questions. Let's get some questions. What are we getting for questions? Hope lots of questions. I like questions. Are we seeing any questions? Okay, wonderful. Where can I find the tools you mentioned on the RBL toolkits? They're all attached to they're actually on the SME Toolkit, the Republic SMEtoolkit.com. The cost to attend the sessions in January, they're actually free. So sign up, speak to your account managers at your bank. The 2 workshops, the 6 steps to the winning business, yeah, they're actually free. Anything else? Who's that? Oh, Richard. Roger. Oh, Roger. Thank you very much, Roger. What, are there any other questions that you have, Roger? And would you like to share for me, anyone, please, on the webinar, what was your key point of value? And I'd love some more questions. I love questions. I love to be challenged. Keep me challenged. Keep me on top of my game. Give me a question you think I won't be able to answer. I'm going to put that out to you. Give me a really hard question. Taking sessions regionally. Well, this is a RBL question, so I'm sure that RBL will be looking at replicating the model, I hope, because it's been so successful in Trinidad and Tobago. Come on, no challenging questions? No accounting questions, please. No ratios. Come on. So what I'm going to assume that every single person who signed up and has done this webinar is definitely going to make a shift in their mindset, that they're going to dig deep, they're going to use these tools, they're going to unlock limiting beliefs and knock 2020 out the ballpark, yeah? Yep, all the documents and videos are available on the toolkit. And this is recorded, so you'll definitely be able to listen to this again. And again, lots of nuggets, and I believe the presentation will be on it as well. No challenging questions? Come on. What about our folks in Ghana? Some tools on how to manage your time. Okay, that's great. What would you like to? Well, the thing is, so just a quick one on time mastery. So, we only have 24 hours in the day, right? Every single one of us, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, every single person in the world has 24 hours in the day. But what do you think makes them different to us? What makes them different to us is that they don't manage time. What they do is they manage their productivity. So there are actually 3 aspects of time management. I actually call it productivity management. And it's around these 3 buckets. And if you join the program, the Action Club program will teach you more about how to use these tools. But I'll just give you a little high level at the moment. So it's self-mastery, it's delegation or leverage mastery, and it's planning mastery. Those are the 3 aspects of time that you need to look at much more deeply, that will help you to understand how to manage your productivity, not your time. So thank you for that question. No more challenging questions? Anybody? We have a few? Yes? Okay, let's see what the questions are. Yeah. Samuel, yes, Samuel, give me lots of questions. So let's see. Not sure if you mentioned it among the 3-minute, 3-hour, 3-day personal interaction list, but for family members who you live with then have negative outlooks. Yes, I did. And so, what I've actually done is, and I've had to really manage this very, because of course, this is a reality for many of us. By the way, Samuel, when you join this journey, it's a very lonely place. Because what I have found has happened is that, it's typically like, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're part of a group, you're part of a community, and suddenly you want to do something differently. So what happens is, people are great, they're really supportive, they mean you well initially, but eventually when things are really happening for you, they're like, oh, they're not always there because you're busy, you're doing other things, you're learning new stuff, you're talking to different people. And so what happens is that you have to find ways, because you're not going to like cut people off, but you want to find ways to really engage with them. So what I find works for me is that when I meet with people or family members or people that I have a 3-minute time slot that I've allotted them, or even a 3-hour allotted time, I actually ask them lots of questions. So if I call it a chit chat strategy. I actually got that from Darren Hardy. He's one of my mentors. And by the way, you should sign up. If you're on LinkedIn, please sign up for Brad Sugars' drive-in. He does these drive-bys. There's lots of great nuggets. And Darren Hardy, who's another one of my mentors, and that's at darrenhardy.com. And you can type that into the chat for everyone to see. But so I have a little chit chat strategy. So when I'm listening to the negative, what I do is I actually find questions. So I change the conversation. I ask the people lots of questions. Otherwise, I go to the movies. I go to the movies with the folks who are negative. Or I really just try to find ways that, limiting, oh gosh, it's really nice to see you. Or I see people in a larger crowd of people where I don't have to have that one-on-one time. So I found strategies around the way. Or I keep myself busy if I go to visit someone or with someone who, the conversation is so negative that it's not, cleaning my brain or flushing my brain. I don't know if that was helpful for you, Samuel. Let me know if there's more that I can. Oh, so everyone wants to know how to miss the presentation. It's all it's recorded and it will be on the SME Toolkit. Yes? Anything else? Okay, so if there are no more questions, then thank you very much for participating today. It was my honor and privilege, and I look forward to sharing more with you in 2020. So get going, get into action, and make 2020 your best ever. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.